Hi there, I'm Beth, and today I'd like to introduce you to my newest custom doll. She's been commissioned by a member of my custom doll tier over on Patreon. As you can see, she is an AliExpress Middie Blythe, and here I'll be swapping her jointed body for a Monst branded body. I still find the Middie head difficult to pop open sometimes, and I had to resort to carefully prying it open with a flathead screwdriver. Once opened, the head is easily disassembled, and the two halves of the cup around the neck ball can be removed. The Monst body has a similar ball neck joint and just needs a very thin layer of hot glue spread over it to prevent the head from rattling around due to being too loose. Once closed up again, we see the head fits really nicely and looks great in proportion to the body. When I come to painting the face, I'll try to create a better colour match with the body, because at the moment they look a little too different in person. This Monst body is just fantastic. It's really poseable and really sturdy, and it has wonderful childlike proportions. I'm really looking forward to customising her, and I imagine these fabrics will give you a hint as to what her theme is going to be. As always, I like to start my customs by preparing the head. I decided to try screwing on a popsicle stick for easier handling when spraying. I remove the existing face-up and sealant using a very fine sponge-backed sandpaper, starting with around a 600 grit. I wear a dust mask for protection. One of my customers' requests was for some concept artwork, so I drew this picture. As you can see, her name will be Daisy, and she's bee-themed. Another of her requests was to add larger ears to the back plate. I measured the existing ears, drew the current size onto paper, and then drew larger ears which should fit over and around them. I'll use these drawings as a template for modelling new ears. I use Milliput, which is a 2-part compound similar to epoxy sculpt. Once equal amounts of the two parts are thoroughly combined, it's safe to sculpt with and begins to cure, becoming hard as rock. I use some simple sculpting tools to recreate my ear shapes and place them onto hard plastic for easy removal once cured. I make a second pair just in case and set them aside to cure overnight. In the meantime, I begin marking the doll's face in preparation for carving. I use pen and pencil to create guidelines for myself to follow. I use almost exclusively hand tools during face carving, as I find they create less scratches. I particularly like these curved woodworking tools, fine metal files in various shapes, and a mixture of straight and curved edge scalpel blades. In a pin vise handle, I also use other carving bits, and even a small drill bit for things like the nostrils. I start by sharpening the outline of the lower nose with a file, and later with a curved carving tool. I want to create a more upturned nose, so remove a little material from the bridge of the nose too. With a straight blade, I cut back the tip of the nose, then soften these cuts with a file. I find that scraping with a curved blade helps remove tool marks and smooth the surface. This only works if you keep moving the position of the blade though. I use a magic eraser sponge to wipe away debris, and I'm still wearing a dust mask. Once I was happy with the shape of the outer nose, I filed a little more definition into the inner corners of the eye sockets. Then I started carving her new mouth shape. I started by deepening the centre mouth crease, which I will try to open in order to add some little teeth. I scrape and carve around the mouth to give her a soft smile and mark the position of 2 dimples as well. This was my first time opening a Middie mouth, but I was confident that it wouldn't interfere with the interior connection to the neck. I did have to cut away at this little tab on the inside though. Once the mouth was opened further, I used a large spherical bit to soften the dimples on her cheeks. I'm really pleased with how her face is coming on, and once I had scraped and sanded and refined it more, it was time to clean and sand it smooth. When possible, I will wet sand to reduce the particles in the air. When it comes to the final sandpapering, I start with around a 600 grit and work my way up to around a 1200 grit. I use small pieces of sandpaper wrapped around a popsicle stick to help get into narrow crevices. Once I'm satisfied with the finish, I also rub the face with a wet magic eraser sponge. I will also wash the face with soapy water and rinse well before air drying and sealing with a few coats of Mr. Super Clear matte sealant. The ears have thoroughly cured and can be peeled off the plastic. They look like they'll be a perfect size. I've mixed up some more Milliput compound and will use it to cover the existing ears and blend into the carved ear fronts. I can use a little water to soften and smooth the surface, and once cured, we'll be able to sandpaper any rough spots. These larger ears are going to look super cute on this childish girl, and she'll be able to tuck her hair behind her ears as well. Once the backs of her ears had cured overnight, I spent some time filing and sanding them smooth. I mixed up a flesh colour using acrylic paint and coloured the ears to match the head using a few thin coats. The ears now match the head, but you can see here that I need to blend the head and body colours together when I'm blushing. She has a few coats of spray sealant and is ready for colour. I like to use pan pastels for the majority of the face-up, applied with soft, rounded brushes. I also use watercolour pencils for any line or detail work. I begin by using a large Artify brush to add a little more yellow to the whole of the head. I also brush a little pink onto the ears, cheeks and lips, and then seal with Mr. Super Clear. I add a little more pink colouring to the neck, chest and back of the body. I deepen the previous areas of colour and add stronger pink to the back of the ears. After another layer of sealant, I lightly brush in her eyebrows with pan pastel. They didn't match up quite right, so I lightly rub them away with a magic eraser sponge and try again. I repeat the process of adding colour and sealing each layer, adding a little pink to her dimples and brown round her upper eyes, with white and pink on her lower eyes. After sealing again, I use a wet brush to take some pigment from a watercolour pencil and use it to brush individual hair details onto her eyebrows. These will need to be built up over several layers as well, as the watercolour pigment will reactivate whenever it's re-wetted. I like to paint the brows darker towards the outer edges. I'll be adding some freckles and wanted to show one method of creating them. Use a wet brush on the tip of a light brown watercolour pencil and flick with the brush to splash irregular dots onto the face. Any freckles you don't like can be lifted away with a clean paper towel before they dry. You can also paint freckles individually by hand. Here you can see I let some freckles stay on her chest, and I decided to add some blushing and fingernail detail to her little hands as well. I've added freckles and blushing to her back as well. Her new owner has requested a little eyeliner, which I'm drawing in now with a pencil. I always enjoy decorating the back of the head when I add my signature too. Since Daisy is bee themed and will be travelling home to Wisconsin, I will be drawing and painting on a bee and their national flower, the blue violet. What do you think of her finished backplate? Here her face is nearly finished and just needs a couple more layers of eyeliner. While I wait for sealant layers to dry, I set about preparing her eyelashes and eyes. Daisy's new owner has requested that I make her special looky-loo eyes. These are spherical eyeballs which are held in the faceplate but allow for free rotational movement. I first made these for my own custom Middie Blythe, Looky-Loo. I mix white alcohol pigment with UV resin to make the eyeballs. If the pigment is too strong, the resin won't cure and will leave us with squishy eyeballs. My second pair here came out perfectly and are completely rigid. Details of this silicone mould are given in my Looky-Loo video. Once I carve away the rough area, I'll be able to sand it flat and then use acrylic paint pen markers to hand draw the irises. I'm drawing pretty bright blue eyes for her and will let the acrylic pen dry completely before finishing off with domes of clear UV resin. For her eyelashes, I'll try to use the ones her new owner sent me, which have pretty blue tips. I cut them down to size width-wise, but they're still too long, so I'm going to draw a line of glue across the middle of the lashes. Once completely dry, I should be able to cut the lashes in half lengthwise without them falling apart. While waiting for the glue to dry, I finish off the eyes, which look super cute, don't you think? I've already added some gloss varnish to her lips and under eyes, and just need to make some tiny teeth for her open mouth. I use translucent polymer clay, which I push lightly against the mouth from the inside of the faceplate. I will then push it out and carefully carve a groove into the centre to create the illusion of 2 front teeth. Once baked, the clay will be hard and can be test fit in the head. I'm happy to see that the neck piece still fits, so I'm able to glue the teeth into place. I'm now able to trim down the eyelashes and glue them into position as well. I first saw this tinfoil eye cup method demonstrated by Roger Doll OB11, creator of the Q Baby. The layers of tinfoil can be pressed against the eye and the excess trimmed away, leaving a well-fitted cup which allows just enough movement for the eyeball to rotate. Once trimmed to size, I'll use blue tack all around the cup to secure it in the faceplate. I like to use this little stick with blue tack on the end to push the eye around with. Here, both eyes are positioned, although I've run out of blue tack, so I'll run to the shop so I can add some more all around. With a little trim of her fringe, her customization is complete. Now she needs her clothes and accessories made to really complete her personality. I was delighted to find my Blythe boots fit the Monst feet perfectly. I used my sewing pattern to create a light tan pair of boots for her, which are wet shaped and left to dry on a pair of my shoe lasts. I've already shared a video detailing the Monst clothes patterns I created, so hopefully you've already seen this lovely dress and dungarees. I also created a little apron with embroidered daisy and a pocket for some flowers, scissors and a tiny pencil. I made some socks and pants, well, underpants, and my husband 3D printed a doll stand for her in bright yellow. This video is not sponsored, but I just wanted to quickly share a new find. Prim sell refill lead for a mechanical white fabric pencil. I found these on Amazon and I just ordered a 0.9mm generic mechanical pencil to put them in. I often struggle to mark dark fabrics accurately, resorting to using gel or paint pens. But I love how fine and clear this is, and look forward to trying it out on a project soon. Back to this project. Here I've marked out pattern pieces to make a flannel fabric onesie, which was an extra request. This fabric is very lightweight and soft, with super cute bee details. These pyjamas are assembled much like the other Monst patterns shown in my previous video. I line the neckline with interfacing and complete the bodice before joining the trousers on directly at the waist. Here's the cute onesie all finished, being modelled by my own mischievous Monst Middie hybrid. In preparation for going home, I always like to make my custom dolls a padded carry case. For Daisy, I'm using these pretty fabrics with a layer of quilt batting in the middle. This one is custom sized for the hybrid body and measures 13.5 inches by just over 11 inches, including seam allowance. This is how the fabrics are laid out for sewing, and I leave an opening for turning through. I hand stitch the turning space closed. The case will be folded like an envelope, with the shorter sides hand stitched closed. I will add 2 snaps to the flap for a closure. I'm using cam snaps, often used for baby clothes. This carry case will be perfect for taking Daisy out travelling. Here's a tool I haven't used on the channel before. It's a 3D pen. Just like a 3D printer, it uses plastic filament, extruded a little like a glue gun. I'm going to use this to try to make a headband for Daisy with bee-like antenna on top. After some trial and error, this is what I've come up with for her headband. I think it's pretty cute. Here's a closer look at her outfits and accessories. A long sleeve top and dungaree set. Her onesie pyjamas with snap fastenings and decorative buttons. A little apron to wear when she's working in her flower shop at home. And a little bumblebee dress as well. Her socks and shoes complete her wardrobe for the moment. Don't you just love these tiny boots? I think this colour goes well with everything else she has. We've made her a Blythe sized doll stand, especially cut to fit her height. And again, here's her carry case, complete with my label inside. We have her signed concept artwork, as well as a copy of the sewing patterns created specially for this body. And of course, the little lady herself. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all my supporters over on Patreon. You are all a huge part of the channel, and it's a great pleasure to create custom dolls, especially for those of you in the custom doll tier. This has been quite a big project for me and an absolute delight, and I'd love to hear what you thought of it in the comments below. I have a short waiting list of custom commissions and details of dolls that are ready to commission over on my Patreon page. So, if you would like to have a custom doll made for you, please check out the link in the description to my Patreon. And look for the custom doll tier for more information. Before I packed up Daisy and all her accessories to travel home to Wisconsin, I took her out with me for a walk in the woods of Battle Hill. We spotted some wildlife and some pretty flowers and found lots of mushrooms to admire. Daisy tried out both her dress and dungarees in the woods and found her boots were very comfortable for hiking in. She even did a little rock climbing. We stopped to watch the busy bees and spotted juicy raspberries on our way back home again. Thank you all so much for watching. Please do leave a like and a comment below if you've enjoyed this video. Take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!